Do you believe in ghosts? Gateways to other dimensions? Do you believe that science has an answer for everything? Yeah, I agree. Ghosts are a ridiculous concept. I mean, once something is dead, it's completely dead, right? And other dimensions are just outlets for human fantasy. There are no other worlds but the physical one we have right in front of us. Right? And I believe that science does have an answer for everything. Maybe. Just one thing. I've seen a ghost before, and I wasn't alone. So did my younger brother at the same time. Hi, my name is Daniel Aaron Moore. I grew up in a small little town in Florida called Chuluota. On several acres out in the country, we lived down a dirt road and down a dirt driveway off of that dirt road. Early one spring morning, when my brother Peter and I were kids, we were carrying our trash cans down to the end of the driveway. And this was quite the ordeal, because at the time the garbage cans weren't much larger than ourselves, so we basically had to drag them down. It was early morning, and the Florida humidity was never more evident. The air was thick with fog, and everything was eerily silent. Now, I don't use that term eerily silent lightly. Especially in the swampy wetlands of central Florida, there are always noises, frogs, birds, all manner of insects. But there were no noises this morning. As Peter and I set down our trash cans, we both looked up our road at the fog, and through it, we saw something. Something hard to describe. It was silently coming towards us, maybe less than 30 yards away, a carriage or cart of some kind being drawn by an ambiguous animal, a large, dark animal, a horse or an ox most likely. But Peter and I both stood there watching it. Neither of us said a word to each other, not knowing if we were both actually witnessing this strange sight or sharing the same dream, which is actually probably a topic for a different episode. As the cart reached us closer and closer, it suddenly stopped and did something really strange. It stood up. Like the animal leading it, the harness and the cart itself just kind of stood up, all into the air. That's when Peter and I ran back to our house, both of us not sure of what we had just witnessed. Now, Peter and I are pretty pragmatic guys. I suppose I would have to admit that I'm the more imaginative of the two of us, but we both witnessed this and still don't know what it is we saw. But Chuluota is not shy of ghosts. In fact, there are tales of sightings of ethereal glowing forms along the road we lived off of. Snow Hill Road crosses the Little Econolanhatchee River, or the Econ for short, and the bridge was right at the end of our road. In high school, Peter and our friends Matt and Nick would go down to the bridge late at night to see if we could catch the lights. These tales have been passed down through several generations in the Chuluota area and over into Geneva and Oviedo. Apparently, going to catch glimpses of the Chuluota lights has been a high school pastime of many a young person through the decades of the bridge's existence. We never actually witnessed the lights ourselves, but stories still existed, and I always liked to think that these kinds of stories are rooted in some truth. Are the lights the physical manifestations of some searching spirit? It's been confirmed that along that portion of the Little Econ River there are Seminole Indian burial mounds, actual places where people were buried in the past. But those people were laid to rest properly according to their people's traditions. Why should they be restless? Could there actually be a restless spirit of some dead person in or around the bridge? The only thing I found was an old Orlando Sentinel article by reporter Mark Pankowski regarding the bridge. He reported that the only documented death on the bridge prior to 1976 was that of Norbert Hyman, 17 of Chuluota. Hyman was killed at 10:30 p.m. July 16, 1963, when he was struck by a car that didn't have its headlights on, according to accident reports that were on file in Tallahassee in 1976. Initially, Norbert sounded like the strongest candidate for a ghost haunting the bridge in the form of floating lights, but then I remembered that the lights have been spotted at this section of the bridge for decades prior to Norbert's actual birth. In fact, Norbert's incident may have occurred because he was down there with some friends trying to see the lights. Hence, the other car's lights were off for better visibility, resulting in the tragic loss of his life. But to be honest, the most logical reason for the lights that I've heard is pretty simple. It's just car lights in the distance reflecting off of swamp gas. That's simple. But the human imagination, filled with its fears and fascination with the supernatural, have spawned the resulting ghost stories surrounding the Chuluota lights. While I was looking into the Chuluota lights, I did a little research into the history of our town as well. Apparently, it was settled soon after the Civil War. Travelers from North Carolina were seeking refuge in a new start after the tragedies of the war. And perhaps the most mysterious aspect of this was that they came on carts, pulled by large oxen. I've always been intrigued by the esoteric in our universe. There are ridiculous and bizarre occurrences almost daily that feed into the stories of our human culture. Most of them, I believe, are rooted in some truth, whether that truth is scientific, based on the wild imagination of society, or, at its heart, spiritual in nature. I have an unwavering desire to know more. Join me on this podcast, Just One Thing, as I look further into the esoteric of our universe.